Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Morning Gym Poetry. Today I'll be reading works by three 20th century poets, including E. Cummings, Sylvia Plath, and Pablo Neruda. Regarding Neruda, he may be the best Latin American poet of the 20th century, or you may not agree. You might choose Gabriel Garcia Marquez. That would be another sensible choice. I haven't read translations of poems in these sessions previously, but the one I'm going to read you today by Neruda is well done and deserves a wide audience. However, let's start with a shorter poem by E. Cummings, and its title is incidentally, he didn't usually use titles, so the title of a poem is its first line. I carry your heart with me, I carry it in. I carry your heart with me, I carry it in my heart. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear. And whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true. And it's you are whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here's the deepest secret nobody knows. Here's the root of the root and the bud of the bud, and the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. Well, that's a very sincere poem by E. Cummings. And if you ever see a picture of him, he looks very stern. You would never imagine that he could write a poem like that. But actually, he wrote quite a few love poems. He started writing poetry as a child and never wanted to be anything but a poet. That's a bit odd, perhaps, but he had a vision of how he wanted to write and how he wanted to live, and he always did it his way. His poetry had no capitals and very little punctuation, but he did use stanzas, which is very helpful. Reading out loud one of his poems is fun, providing you practice it a couple of times, at least that many, before taking it to an audience. And I'm going to go back and explain how E. Cummings rhymes or doesn't rhyme. And here's the second stanza of this poem. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true. And it's you are whatever moon has always meant, and whatever sun will always sing is you. Okay, so he rhymes want and meant. Not really. Those are para-rhymes. But he rhymes no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true, and that rhymes with the last line of the stanza, and whatever sun will always sing is you. So in his poetry, you may get a series of rhyming couplets, or you may get rhymes jumping around from one line to another in a stanza, or you may get no rhymes. E. Cummings will do it his way, and it doesn't mean it's not sincere. And in fact, in his love poems, I think he's very sincere. And his love poems are very original. And I have to say, they're shocking in the sense that not that he uses any questionable words, but that he is writing love poetry at all. And he will tell you when he wants you to see a rhyme and when he doesn't. It's all there. You just have to be willing to accept what he's telling you to do. Well, now, next is going to be a poem by Sylvia Plath. She was a rising star in the 1930s, but took her own life and greatly shortened a brilliant career. She was a beautiful and attractive woman, and she married the English poet Ted Hughes. And that might have been a big mistake because the two of them clashed about a lot of things, and finally they separated. They had 2 children together. It's a sad story, really. And she may never have completed her suicide if it hadn't been for city gas. What? I think I talked about this the first time I had Sylvia Plath on board. City gas was a concoction they used in London and other parts of England, and it wasn't natural gas, and it wasn't scented with an awful substance like it is nowadays that would greatly discourage anybody from using it as a suicide mechanism. And in fact, after they changed the formula for their gas, and they gave it an odorant that nobody could tolerate, the number of suicides in London went down about 90%. I think that's very interesting, and it emphasizes that sometimes suicides are spur of the moment. It wouldn't happen if the right tools were not readily at hand. But anyway, the poem I want to read by Sylvia Plath is called The Applicant. Now listen to this and see if you're reminded of any very modern developments. First, are you our sort of a person? Do you wear a glass eye, false teeth, or a crutch, a brace, or a hook, rubber breasts, or a rubber crotch? Stitches to show something's missing? No? No. Then how can we give you a thing? Stop crying. Open your hand. Empty? Empty. Here is a hand to fill it, and willing to bring teacups and roll away headaches and do whatever you tell it. Will you marry it? It is guaranteed some shut your eyes at the end and dissolve of sorrow. We make new stock from the salt. I notice you are stark naked. How about this suit? Black and stiff, but not a bad fit. Will you marry it? It is waterproof, shutterproof, proof against fire and bombs through the roof. Believe me, they'll bury you in it. Now, your head, is empty. I have the ticket for that. Come here, sweetie, out of the closet. Well, what do you think of that? Naked as paper to start, but in 25 years she'll be silver. In 50, gold. A living doll, everywhere you look. It can sew, it can cook, it can talk. 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 It works. There's nothing wrong with it. You have a hole, it's a poultice. You have an eye, it's an image. My boy, it's your last resort. Will you marry it? Marry it. Marry it. That's The Applicant by Sylvia Plath. And it's a bit of an odd poem, I think, but she may have been ahead of her time. And I always say that a good poem is one that can renew itself for future generations. And it occurred to me when reading it for the first time that she was really talking about a product of artificial intelligence, as we currently either look forward to it or fear it. But The Applicant is a perfect description of AI, I think. Sylvia Plath was definitely ahead of her time. Now, we're going to have a poem by Pablo Neruda, translated by Robin Robertson, because Pablo Neruda, as far as I know, wrote all of his poems in Spanish. He was a Chilean, and he was also a diplomat. He had a very wide-ranging life. In fact, it was kind of a Renaissance existence that he lived as a Chilean intellectual and poet. Every knowledgeable person in the government of Chile thought that Neruda would be a good officer in their part of the Chilean bureaucracy. The title of this poem is Ode to a Large Tuna in the Market. And as I said, it's by Pablo Neruda, translated by Robin Robertson. So let me find it here, and I do think I have it. Ode to a Large Tuna. Here among the market vegetables, this torpedo from the ocean depths, a missile that swam now, lying in front of me, dead. Surrounded by the earth's green froth, these lettuces, bunches of carrots, only you live through the sea's truth. Only you survive the unknown, the unfathomable darkness, the depths of the sea, the great abyss, le grand abîme. Only you, varnished, black-pitched witness to that deepest night. Only you, dark bullet, barreled from the depths, carrying only your one wound, but resurgent, always renewed, locked into the current, fins fletched like wings in the torrent, in the coursing of the underwater dark, like a grieving arrow, sea javelin, a nerveless, oiled harpoon. Dead. In front of me, catafalqued king of my own ocean, once sappy as a sprung fir in the green turmoil, once seed to seaquake, tidal wave, now simply dead remains. In the whole market, yours was the only shape left with purpose or direction in this jumbled ruin of nature. You are a solitary man of war among these frail vegetables, your flanks and prow, black and slippery as if you were still a well-oiled ship of the wind, the only true machine of the sea, unflawed, undefiled, navigating now the waters of death. That's a powerful poem. And it takes up 3 pages because the way Neruda has written it and the translator has reproduced it, there are never more than 3 words in a single line. I'll show you what it looks like on the page. So you can see it's a rather long poem, but it's long partly because he wants you to get the images. And I love this technique that he's using. He wants you to get the images that he's trying to express without too much immediately surrounding overgrowth or undergrowth. So he says, "Here among the market vegetables," and that second line is one of the longest lines in the poem. "This torpedo from the ocean depths, a missile that swam, now lying in front of me, dead." So that is a powerful poem, I think. Beautiful images with the short lines that I've mentioned. Highly descriptive. Perhaps the best image of how a poet's mind works. How he sees things that most of us would miss upon confronting a dead fish. That's it for today. Once again, I encourage you to get other poems by these poets, Neruda and Sylvia Plath and E. Cummings, and see how they work for you. Bye now, and I hope you tune in next week for another edition of Morning Jim Poetry. God willing, I'll still be here, kicking and screaming out the lines of the poems that I love and you love too. Bye now.